Picture yourself 300,000 years ago in the dense, unforgiving wilderness of East Africa, crouched inside a dark, thorny acacia bush at exactly 3:15 a.m. It is pitch black. No matter how wide you stretch your eyes, no matter how desperately you strain your pupils, you can see absolutely nothing. But just to your left, a few meters away, you hear a faint rhythmic rustling of dry leaves. A 190-kilogram predator is closing in, and you cannot see it, you cannot smell it, and you cannot escape it. You have no smartphone to call for help, no flashlight to pierce the dark, and no concrete walls to hide behind. All you hold in your hand is a cold, poorly napped piece of flint, its rough edges biting into your sweaty palm. And right now, in this moment of pure, unadulterated terror, your brain is doing something completely useless. It is daydreaming about how to shape that stone slightly better tomorrow morning, wondering if a few gentler strikes on its side might yield a cleaner edge. This terrifying vulnerability was not just a one-time occurrence, a single bad night in the wilderness. This exact scenario played out every single night for every single one of our ancestors for over 250,000 years. Physically speaking, humans were incredibly weak, almost laughably ill-equipped for the Pleistocene world. We lacked the razor-sharp claws of lions, the bone-crushing jaws of hyenas, and the thick, protective hide of mammoths. Yet, somehow, we survived. And today we are here, sitting in air-conditioned rooms, staring at high-definition screens. How did they actually pull it off? What did these people actually do all day? By the time we unravel the daily schedule of our ancestors, the minor, mundane stresses of your modern daily routine, traffic jams, unread emails, long coffee lines, will feel entirely insignificant compared to the sheer mathematical miracle of your existence. When most people hear the term caveman or Stone Age, they immediately picture a dirty, brutish creature shivering in a wet cave, screaming in primal fear, and running aimlessly from wild beasts while waving a heavy wooden club. No, stop. Absolutely not. This popular cultural image of our ancestors as mindless, perpetually terrified brutes is fundamentally wrong. Our ancestors were not helpless, panicked survivalists living on the edge of instant extinction. In fact, once they established their basic survival strategies, they enjoyed a level of leisure, creative freedom, and social connection that would make the average modern office worker incredibly jealous. They were master coordinators, brilliant engineers, and deep thinkers who organized their days with remarkable efficiency. To truly understand what their days looked like, we first have to look at the sheer, terrifying scale of the threats they faced every single morning when they woke up. The predators of the Pleistocene era made modern African lions look like oversized house cats. Take the Homo therium, a fearsome, saber-toothed cat that was roughly 30% heavier than today's largest lions. It was armed with 11-centimeter dagger-like teeth and possessed a unique skeletal structure that allowed it to chase prey across open ground at speeds approaching 60 kilometers per hour. That is nearly twice the top speed of Usain Bolt's world record sprint. If a Homo therium targeted an isolated human on the open savanna, the human stood zero physical chance of survival. But here is the most fascinating twist. While we were certainly on their menu, these terrifying predators were not our biggest daily threat. Our greatest, most lethal enemy was a silent, slow killer, energy depletion. Every single move a human makes costs calories. Finding those calories in a wild, uncultivated landscape is incredibly difficult. While a modern human needs about 2,000 calories a day to maintain their lifestyle, securing that amount of energy alone in the wild, without supermarkets, agriculture, or preservation techniques, was mathematically impossible. To survive this constant, unforgiving energy crisis, we developed the ultimate biological cheat code: cooperation. While other animals relied on sharper teeth or thicker armor, we turned to social structure. Our ancestors formed highly organized nomadic clans consisting of roughly 20 to 50 individuals. This was not a random gathering. It was a tightly knit, highly communicative team. When the sun rose over the savannah, the clan did not scatter in panic. Instead, they executed a calculated division of labor. One group, consisting of experienced elders and children, would forage within a safe radius, gathering calorie-dense tubers, wild berries, and nutritious nuts. Another group of trackers would head out to scout the movements of local herds, while a dedicated few stayed behind to protect the temporary camp and tend to the young. This simple division of labor slashed an individual's daily energy expenditure by nearly 40%. Think about this. Alone, you are nothing but a fragile, slow-moving snack in the savannah. But when you stand together with 20 or 30 others, sharing information, dividing tasks, and pooling resources, you instantly become the most formidable, calculating superorganism on the planet. Yet, a tight-knit social group alone still wasn't enough to secure the massive amounts of protein needed to fuel our rapidly growing, energy-hungry brains. Our prey was still vastly faster, stronger, and more agile than us. And this is where everything changed. To bridge the gap between our weak bodies and our massive caloric needs, humans turned to engineering. At the Lomekwi 3 archaeological site in Kenya, researchers discovered stone tools dating back an astonishing 3.3 million years. This means we were master craftsmen and toolmakers long before our own species, Homo sapiens, even evolved. Our ancestors did not just pick up random rocks and throw them. They selected specific materials like obsidian, quartz, and flint, analyzing their crystalline structures. They struck these stones at precise 45-degree angles using hammerstones, utilizing a technique called knapping to flake away excess material and create blades with microscopic, jagged edges. These stone edges were so sharp that they rivaled modern surgical steel scalpels. When a hunting party successfully brought down an animal, or more commonly, scavenged a fresh carcass from a larger predator, time was of the essence. You had to harvest the meat before hyenas and lions arrived to contest the kill. With these engineered stone tools, the time required to slice through tough hide and skin, a harvested animal dropped from a grueling, dangerous 2 hours to just 6 minutes. This was a technological revolution. Our teeth and fingernails did not need to evolve into claws. We simply bypassed millions of years of biological evolution by carving our weapons directly out of the earth. Still, having a razor-sharp stone tool does not matter if you cannot catch the animal in the first place. How did a slow, bipedal primate catch up to a fast, elegant antelope that could outrun a cheetah over short distances? To solve this, our bodies evolved a unique biological superpower that we often take for granted today: the ability to sweat. Almost all mammals on Earth cool their bodies down by panting. Panting requires an animal to stop running, draw shallow breaths, and evaporate moisture from its tongue. This means that when a mammalian predator or prey animal runs at high speeds, its internal body temperature skyrockets dangerously. Humans, however, possess a virtually hairless body covered in 2 to 5 million eccrine sweat glands. We are the only mammals on the planet capable of dumping massive amounts of heat while actively running at a full sprint or a steady jog. Our ancestors turned this biological difference into a devastating hunting strategy known as persistence hunting. The process was brilliant in its simplicity and brutal in its execution. In the heat of the day, when the sun was at its absolute peak and temperatures hovered around 40 degrees Celsius, A small group of human hunters would locate a target, such as a large kudu or an antelope. While other predators slept in the shade to avoid heat stroke, these humans would deliberately flush the antelope out into the open. The antelope would easily sprint away, disappearing over the horizon. But the humans did not run after it at a frantic, exhausting pace. Instead, they tracked its footprints at a steady, rhythmic jog. Within a few kilometers, the hunters would catch up to the antelope, which had stopped to pant and lower its body temperature. The moment the antelope saw the humans, it would panic and sprint away again. The humans, sweating continuously and drinking water from ostrich eggshells they carried, just kept jogging. They repeated this relentless pursuit for 4, 5, or even 6 hours. Eventually, the antelope's internal temperature would hit a lethal 43 degrees Celsius. Its brain would begin to cook, its muscles would lock up, and the animal would collapse from sheer heat stroke, completely unable to move. The human hunters would simply walk up to the immobilized prey and end the hunt with a single, precise spear strike. We did not overpower our prey with brute force, nor did we outrun them in a short sprint. We literally ran them to death by forcing them to overheat. Lest you think this is just a romanticized, speculative theory cooked up by modern evolutionary biologists, the hard, physical evidence buried in the earth proves how deeply cooperative, intelligent, and compassionate our ancestors truly were. In the Shanidar cave, located in the Zagros Mountains of modern-day Iraq, archaeologists unearthed the 45,000-year-old skeletal remains of a Neanderthal known to science as Shanidar I. When paleopathologists analyzed his bones, they discovered a shocking story of survival. This individual had suffered a massive blow to the left side of his face early in life, which had crushed his eye socket and left him completely blind in that eye. Furthermore, his right arm was withered, fractured in multiple places, and had been amputated or broken off at the elbow. He also suffered from a severe degenerative joint disease in his legs, making every single step an agonizing ordeal. Yet, the bone growth patterns proved that this man did not die from these injuries. He survived them, living to an advanced age of roughly 40 to 45 years, the equivalent of an 80-year-old in those times. This finding shattered previous assumptions about prehistoric life. A severely disabled, blind, one-armed man could not hunt, could not run from predators, and could not forage for his own food. He was, by all capitalist and raw evolutionary definitions, a drain on his group's resources. Yet, his clan did not abandon him. They kept him warm, they carried him from camp to camp, they shared their hard-won meat with him, and they protected him from predators for decades. This is concrete, undeniable proof that compassion, empathy, and social welfare were not modern inventions. They were our earliest and most powerful survival technologies, and then, slowly but surely, came the grand turning point in human history. Over hundreds of thousands of years, the relationship between human and beast quietly reversed. The vulnerable, hairless primates who once cowered in the bushes at night, jumping at every snapped twig, became the ultimate rulers of the landscape. Our engineering became more sophisticated, our communication developed into complex language, and our tracking maps spanned entire continents. The predators that once hunted us with impunity began to actively avoid us. The smell of campfire smoke, which once signaled an easy meal to a curious saber-toothed cat, became a warning sign of a lethal trap. Wherever humans set foot, giant mammoths, woolly rhinos, and massive cave bears began to vanish, unable to cope with a predator that hunted with fire, spears, and collective planning. We did not just adapt to the ecosystem, we reshaped it in our image. The reality of early human life was not a relentless, miserable 24/7 grind for survival. In fact, Anthropological studies of modern hunter-gatherer societies, such as the Hadza of Tanzania or the Juhonsi of the Kalahari, suggest that our ancestors actually had far more free time than we do today. Having secured their survival through brilliant collective strategies and highly efficient toolkits, early humans only needed to work, meaning hunt, forage, and make tools, for about 3 to 4 hours a day. The rest of their long, sunny days were filled with what we would call pure leisure. They spent their afternoons resting under the shade of massive baobab trees, sharing intricate stories, gossiping about group dynamics, teaching their children how to read the clouds and track insects, and painting beautiful, symbolic art on cave walls. They lived entirely in the present moment, free from the anxieties of mortgage payments, career ladders, and digital notifications. So tonight, when you climb into your comfortable bed, pull up your warm blankets and hear a tiny, sudden rustling sound or a creak in the dark corner of your room, do not let your modern anxieties take over. Instead, take a deep breath and remember your ancestor from 300,000 years ago, standing in the pitch-black savannah, listening to the real dangers of the wild with nothing but a cold, sharp stone in his hand. He stared down the darkness, overcame his primal fears, and kept refining his tools, just so you could sit safely in a warm, secure room today, reading his extraordinary story.